Hello, bonus episode tubers, and welcome to a special episode where we mostly look at spreadsheets and talk stats. So, if all you want to do is see the chapter, sorry guys, you have to wait another episode. But if you're interested in how our characters have turned out, today might be the episode for you. So, before I get into it, I just want to explain myself a little bit. When I watch other, Let's Players, as you do, one thing that sometimes I wish other people would do is spend a little bit of time talking about their characters. Compare them, how they've turned out compared to the average, seeing as we have the power of statistics at our fingertips nowadays. It's pretty common in Fire Emblem, and specifically Fire Emblem, but other sort of strategy games with random level ups, kind of like Shining Force or maybe Final Fantasy Tactics, for people to really like comparing different characters, to see who gets the best, right? Like, which character should you bring on your team? It's kind of funny in Fire Emblem 4 because you can just deploy everybody, so that's fine. But, it is kind of nice to know who maybe you should use because some characters are better than others. Although this game is kind of interesting for the Fire Emblems compared to usual, right? Like, the more modern ones, you generally have to pick a team of 10 or 12, and sometimes trying to pick the best group is kind of fun. Not always necessary, but so anyway, my point is that a lot of times people are talking about, which characters are the best or strongest, but a lot of it comes down to, because of the way the level up system works, if you've looked at those growths on the bottom left, even the slightest, those are percentages, right? So there could be a large swing on one specific playthrough, how your Seliph turns out compared to mine. Not counting caps, like the maximums, basically. But any given character, if you had much better luck, could have gotten a lot more of a given stat earlier, or never, or maybe, something different than mine. Like, it makes fairly straightforward. Makes sense, right? Your Johann does not necessarily, probably doesn't, to be honest, have the same level 27 stats that mine does. So that's fair. And what I've got is to show you how my characters turned out compared to their average growth rates, basically. And it was a little bit complicated, so it's going to take a little bit of time to explain, but I have the power of math to back me up. So this is a big spreadsheet that I made just to flex some Google Sheets knowledge. I actually kind of like learning how these things work every now and then, and this one's got some tricks in it. So some basic stuff is real easy. We've got all the Gen 2 characters, counting Finn as well, in here. I didn't bother doing this for Gen 1 because that would have been more trouble than it was worth. This is just their growth rates, so nothing special, same as what you see on the side of the screen. If it's higher than 1, that means you always get 1, and you have a 40% chance of getting a 2. So that's how we get plus 2 HPs. Technically, there's one character that has above 100% growth in speed, but it doesn't matter because when Seti joins, he has 30 speed already, and that will be his cap. So it's kind of silly, but, whatever. These growth rates are based on the parents, generally. So for someone who we didn't set up parents with, like Oifi or Shannon, their base rates are always going to be, the growth rates are always going to be the same, as well as their join stats. But everybody else, like Seliph and everyone else on our team, their growth rates are determined by their parents. Now, Seliph's has plot parents, so his growth rates will be the same for me and for you. That will always be the same. But Lana's will definitely depend on who her parents are. Now, I'm pretty sure I've talked about how the inheritance system works already, but, the mothers of Gen 1 always pass down a certain percentage of their growth rates. I forget the exact formula, but they pass down their growth rates to their children first, and then depending on which male you pair them up with, they will get a share of the father's stats as well. So you can see different values in here if you have different pairings. So again, this is where different playthroughs will deviate. Even further, for Generation 2 specifically, the stats when they join, again, not counting Oifi. Oifi should always start the same. Johann should always start the same, stuff like that. But any of the children characters, basically, their starting stats, their base stats when they join you in Generation 2, it actually depends on their mother and father's stats at the end of Generation 1. So the fact that Seliph has 8 strength is not guaranteed at level 1. You could have had potentially 7 or 9. There's not a huge amount of variance. But if you got Sigurd to level 30 and he maxed out his strength, then Seliph will have a better chance of starting with, well, just the math will line up, so he will either get an extra point of strength or not. It's not random, it's just, you do need, it's not like a one-to-one transfer, clearly. Like, you know, Sigurd with 25 strength doesn't just pass it on. But he does get, like, it's like 10% of it or something like that. And then, like, 5% of his mom's. And I think girls get, like, 10% of their mom's stats and 5% of their dad's stats. It's not, like, again, you can look up a guide if you want to see the exact math, but the point is, depending on how strong you train your Generation 1 characters, these stats will be slightly different, although, again, not a huge amount of difference. Luck is really weird, though. It does inherit based on their parent stats, but there is essentially a plus 0 to 10 random number. It's actually 0 to 100, but then they divide it by 10, if I remember correctly. So, even with the same, even if you played through and you had Deirdre and Sigurd, always, if you played through the same as I did and you got them to exactly the same level and stats, the growth rates would be same. They would always have the same, you know, HP, strength, etc. But there's a random value when you start Gen 2 that adds a little extra luck. So your luck stats can be wildly different, which is, well, it doesn't make a big difference. But my point is these things are kind of random more than normal. And the rest of the stats are governed by standard logic. So anyway, point is, I just looked these up. Growth rates are on the wiki if you want to look them up, and you just put in the parents, and you can figure out what they should be. Join base, I just looked at my old videos to see what they had when they joined, rather than trying to do the calculations. That was easy enough. And then this is where we start hitting some formulas. Again, I don't want to go into it super detailed, but you can enter into this field the level, and hit enter, and it will update the average stats, not counting promotion bonuses or boosters. And this is unfortunately the shortage for my bonus episode, is I haven't carefully combed through all of the conversation stat boosters. So we're gonna have to ignore conversation stat boosters because I can't. It's too much work. But you could certainly add those in eventually if you kept track. But anyway, I've got my formulas here working, so we'll be able to put in, you know, what level you want to calculate to. It just does some simple math. It's the base rate, the join base stats, and then you add the difference for their level, their join level to their target level, times their growth rate. So you don't count 0 to level 1. So at most you'll get 29 level ups, level 1 to 30, at whatever your growth rate is for each individual stat. So that's, you know, fairly easy spreadsheet show business. You can see some people with like 40s here are definitely gaining more growths than are necessary. We'll talk more about caps in just a minute. But yeah, so this is just like data for the most part. Don't worry about these numbers too much. It is nice to know that some characters way overkill certain stats. But this is before we add in the bonuses, so it goes even higher, essentially. Promotion gains are class-based rather than character-based. So you can look these up, or you can just pay attention when we get our promotions. I put zeros for characters that join pre-promoted, although I believe their promotion gains are technically included in their base stats for when they join, but I didn't want to try to differentiate. Don't worry, just because Oifi is a paladin and gets paladin promotions the same as, who else is a paladin? Ares, I guess? So he would technically have these promotion gains, but he already got them, so they're part of his base stats. So, you know, that's just my logic. Don't worry about those. So zeros just means they join promoted, essentially. Finn, I'm including his promotion gains because we're counting his level 1 join. He's kind of the odd one out. I'm counting his level 1 generation 1 join rather than his generation 2 join, which everybody else gets. Alright, and then we're almost at the end of this, just explaining part. The caps are, again, you can look these up. It's fairly straightforward. Everyone, we've talked about these beforehand, but every character, every class specifically, has different maximums for their stats. They're relatively sensible. Everyone has the same luck and HP, and strengths, you know, you tend to be, if you're a physical class, you have higher strength caps. If you're a magical class, you have higher magic stats. It's not that complicated. And then, finally, the most complicated of my my charts here is my final averages. It includes the promotion bonuses, and it includes the cap, but it doesn't include your in-game conversation stat boosters, because That's a little bit too much. But this is essentially what Sigurd should have at level 30. Again, I should have put that data field a little bit more useful, closer to the right side of the screen, I suppose. But at level 30, or if you don't want it to be 30, it'll all update. If you want to see at, say, level 20, it doesn't include logic for, like, if it's less than 20, don't count your promotion gains. I didn't get that complicated, but you could. But yeah, so this would be his level 20 average stats, and this would be his level 30 average stats. So I don't know, I was pretty happy with my spreadsheet. I have conditional formatting in here, which it just means if this value, if a value in this area is equal to essentially a value in the cap section that corresponds to it, then it'll just be red. So that's an easy way of identifying who should cap out certain stats. This is not a guarantee. This is just Larcy should cap out her speed. And if you look at her raw stats, her raw speed should hit 28.5, add in +5 speed from her promotion gain, so that's 33.5. So she should actually easily cap her speed at level 30, like no trouble at all. And you could also kind of, if you really, really cared, you could try to figure out what level she caps it by putting in a different number. Was that the wrong person? Nope, just didn't have them highlighted. Let's highlight her. And you could see at level 25, she still should have 30 speed, because by growth rate, she should have 26, add 5, so it's probably like level 23 is where she caps. Again, not like this makes the biggest difference, but just, it's kind of interesting. And if we drop her back down, say to level 21, right after she promoted, she should have a base of 24 plus 5. Hey, look, it updated. 29, not red. Perfect. I'm actually kind of glad that worked, because I didn't test it till just now. So anyway, what am I going to do with all this? We're going to spend a few minutes. It shouldn't take super, super long. And we're going to compare my in-game stats to these. Although, for the most part, I set them all to max level, but I can change that if you want. So what I'll do is I'll move this over here. Should be able to see everything like this. And, yeah, we'll just have a little look. So Seliph, right off the bat, level 30. He's a little bit low on HP. Not like it matters. You know, he's 2 points below his average HP. So he's a little weak on that growth. But he's capped his strength. His magic's actually way below average. But it's not hugely surprising when you're talking about growth rates in the, like, 10 to 15% range to not gain them very often. And then you see he's actually missing 5 points of magic. But it doesn't really matter. Cap skill, he's got a little bit more. He's got 2 more points of speed. Again, it's possible there were conversation bonuses that boosted his magic, or, well, not his magic, but his speed, which might explain the +2. So it's hard to say, like, I'm not going to keep bringing it up, but whenever I say my character is better or worse than average, filter that with any conversation stat boosters, because that would be the difference that I'm not remembering. But anyway, his luck is exactly average, assumedly. His speed is a little bit above average, which is kind of nice. His cap for speed is 22. So he's actually capped his speed, even though normally he wouldn't. And his resistance is way above. So I'm pretty confident he got some lucky resistance, or some conversation resistance, almost for sure. Let's go to Lana next. We'll just go through them in order so it's easier for you to follow along. Maybe I can highlight them as well as we go. That might make it a little bit easier for you guys. So Lana, you can see she's way below her HP average. It's not a big deal, of course, but she is minus 8 or 9 points on HP, which is a little bit rude. But because it's over 60, it's still way more than you normally see in a different Fire Emblem game. That's still a ridiculously high HP for a priest, even if she should be better. Maxed out strength, she's way higher on magic, so I'm assuming conversations, but 27 magic is capped, and she should average 24. Her skill is way below, actually. That's kind of unfortunate. She's 7 points below on skill. So, like, she's very skill cursed, and HP cursed, but she is perhaps magic blessed. Her speed is a little bit above average, 2 points above. Her luck is 1 point above, so that's no big deal. She's a couple points below her average for defense and 5 points below her average for resistance. So I would say overall, my Lan is actually quite weak. The fact that she's significantly below in skill, which is a stat she normally She normally caps, unless I put the numbers in wrong for Lana. Her skill growth is supposed to be 60%, unless I typed it in wrong. So yeah, assuming I typed it all in, she should have got way more skill and a fair bit more resistance. So she's definitely a little bit below average, unless I've messed things up. Let's look at Larcy. It's hard to know because this is my first time playing, so I don't have a lot of other information other than, you know, what you guys see here. Now Larcy's been capped on a lot of things for a while. Looks like her HP is about average. Strength is capped like always. Magic doesn't matter. Skill speed capped like always. She's got a little bit more luck than she should, a little bit less defense, and a little bit less resistance. But overall, she looks... I have a feeling this is a pretty standard Larcy for endgame. I think her growths are strong enough that she'll almost always cap strength, skill, and speed. So, not a huge surprise there. Let's go find her brother. And this is of course, with my pairings. If you pick a different father for them, who knows what their final stats will be. So it's pretty similar for Ulster. He's got average HP... lower, like, average for him. It is lower than a lot of my tanky characters that have 60s or 70s. But, you know, 55 is average for him. His strength is capped like average. Magic's right on the dot, almost exactly average. Skill speed capped. Luck a little bit above average. Defense capped exactly on average. And he's got a bit of extra resistance. Perhaps due to conversations. I don't know. Maybe he just got some lucky resistance ups. So, you know, good for him. Let's go to Oifi. Now, this will probably be the first one that doesn't match up perfectly, because I'm showing his level 30 averages rather than his level 28 averages. But we can still use this to get a feel. He's got 2 more level ups. He's already got more HP than average. His strength is exactly what his level 30 average should be. Magic is 30. Like, for him, I just have on the spreadsheet all of his level 30 stats. His skill is capped. He should do that. He's got a little bit higher speed. He's got a little bit lower luck. Defense is a little bit low, but he could probably still make it up with 1 or 2 more level ups. And his resistance about average. So I'd say that's a very average looking Oifi. Given that he joins pre-promoted at level 15, he's got less variability available to him, because he's got less... Like, some of these characters with basically 29 level ups, they have a lot of chance to be blessed or cursed, because they've got more sort of dice rolls to see how they do. Oifi starts relatively high levels, so it makes sense that he's closer to average. Next up, we'll do Dermot. Dermot's been pretty solid character all around. So his HP looks exactly average, strength capped. He's got 0 magic. He must, I'm just going to look it up. He must have a very bad magic growth rate. His magic growth rate is 0.02, 2% magic growth. So, yeah, makes sense that in 28 levels or whatever he gets, basically not a single one was magic. That's pretty cool. He's a little bit low on skill, so he should have capped his skill on average to 30 points of skill. So a little bit unfortunate there, but not a big deal. His speed's actually a fair bit low, too. He's basically 4 points low on speed, 2 points low on skill. So that's a weaker Dermot. That's enough to make a fairly big difference. 4 more points of speed. If he actually had 25 speed, that would have been really nice. He's in a class as a forest knight that has a maximum speed of 27. Like, it's one of the specifically fast classes. Like, I think it's the speediest of the mounted classes, considering the only thing that goes higher than 27 is a sword master. That's pretty interesting that his cap is 27, and it's something he probably could hit with good luck, but he did not. So just, you know, little things like that. His luck's pretty normal, a little bit low, 2 points below. His defense is exactly average, and his resistance is 1 point low. So, yeah, you can see here, again, an extra little bit of change, a little bit more skill, a little bit more speed. He would have been a bit better character, but, you know, he still turned out all right for me. I didn't have a problem with that. Let's do Lester next. We're still going through kind of all the early game characters that had a lot of growth. So, Lester, let's see, level 30. He's got a little bit extra HP, not enough to really matter. His strength is about 2 points low. It's good to know that I think Lester will always turn out pretty strong. He's got enough growth rate in his strength to get very close to his max. His max strength is 25, and he got, well, we're 3 points shy of it, but on average, he should be closer to 24, so, you know, kind of neat. Magic's pretty fine. Skill's a little bit above average. Speed is capped like average. He's actually capped his luck, although normally he's got 1 extra point there. What else has he got? He's got an extra point of defense and average resistance. So this is a very average-looking Lester. The only thing he's sort of missing on is 1 or 2 points of strength. Not a big deal. We don't have Julia right now, so it's hard to compare her, but maybe once she rejoins, assumedly, we'll have a look at her. Let's go hop down to Fee. So another very strong character. Now, I do know for sure that she got 4 strength recently. So keep in mind, some of these characters did get a lot of conversation bonuses, and I know that's one big one for her. So her HP is a little bit high. She might have got some HP conversations too, like plus 1 or 2 HP. So I think it's probably pretty average. So if you factor in the conversation from Lewin with, I believe it was 4 strength, that would put her 16 average up to 20, and she's at 22 in game. So she has been a little bit lucky on good strength growth. 22 is her cap, so she has actually managed to hit the maximum strength for Falcon Knight. Falcon Knights had really poor promotion bonuses, 0 strength on promotion, which is unfortunate. But it's nice to see. She's actually maxed out her magic. So she's got max strength, max magic. Her skill's a little bit lower than average. She's maxed her speed at 30. She's one of the, I think, 3 classes that can get 30 speed. Swordmaster, is it one of the Sages? I think Sage, Swordmaster, and Falcon Knight are the only 30 speed units. So, a little bit lucky speed. She's got... The 15 should be highlighted red. No, it's not. Never mind. Her magic cap is 22. I was thinking typically it's 15. No. Sorry, guys. She did not max her magic. I'm lying. She just has average magic. All right, so speed's good. Luck is actually really bad. Again, I wonder if I made a typo earlier on. I typed her luck in at 0.75. That must be a typo. Hold on. I thought I had this all... I thought I double-checked some of these, but it's easy to make a data entry error, obviously. I'm just going to open up my... Well, I'm just going to have a look at my slides, basically, because I made those slides. Maybe my slides are wrong. That would be kind of sad. Sorry for the little delay here, but, you know, I think it's good to research. It's nice to know. Like, if she's actually 10 points below in luck, that's a huge swing. Slides, Fee with a P. Her original translation was apparently P-H-E-E. Yes, so I typoed it. It should be 30% luck, not 75% luck. 0.3. What did I miss up all of her stats then? 75 speed, 30 luck, 40 defense. 70, oops, no, that was the wrong one. Okay, 75. Oh, I did hers way wrong. Wow. 0.4. Okay, well, I must have been a row off or something when I was typing hers in. 15 resistance. Does that look right? You guys probably have a more of a chance to read her gross than I do most of the time. So 15, 40, 30, 75. Oh, I did hers totally wrong. All right, and then 25, 25, 95. Okay, so never mind. Oh man, that's really embarrassing. Sorry about that. So, and also, you wouldn't have been able to see me because the screen didn't scroll far enough. But anyway, let's try this again. I really hope that's the only one I totally messed up, because this is going to be kind of dumb if I'm wrong. But then again, it was pretty obvious that my numbers weren't matching, so there you go. Okay, so the revised version would be Fee has a little bit extra HP. Her strength is still a little bit high. Her magic's average. Her skill is actually below average. If she's supposed to typically... If she is typically on average able to hit her skill maximum of 25, she did not. But she got the speed. Her luck's a little bit higher than usual according to this. Her defense is about right. And her resistance is about right. So I have a feeling this time it's correct. So there you go. Overall, she's got a little bit extra strength and a little bit less skill. I'd probably take that trade. Alright, let's hope that doesn't happen again. Arthur, come on, line up perfectly. Let's see. Average HP, a little bit extra strength, but it doesn't matter. Capped magic, capped skill, capped speed, a little bit extra luck, Exactly the correct defense and resistance. Okay, that looks like an exactly average Arthur, right? His stats all match up basically perfectly except strength. It would have been better to give someone else those strength points if they were transferable, but whatever, right? It's a dump stat for them, so they're just sitting around. Alright, so yeah, you know, when I said Arthur's good character, definitely good character. I wish his maximums were higher. The fact that he's got a maximum of 22 speed is kind of dumb. But other than his bad caps, he's really good. If he had higher caps, I'm pretty sure he'd have hit them. He would have got higher stats, I'm sure. Alright, so Johann is next. My Great Knight of Gen 2. Let's see how he turned out. Yeah, look at that. Assuming I got the numbers right. 4 points low on HP. 4 points low on strength. Actually, possibly even worse than that because of the way... Like, if he... 22.2... You guys still can't see it. So his average strength would be 22.2... plus 5 from the promotion game would be 27.2. And his cap is 27. So he usually just barely would hit his strength cap, but he did not. So 4 points low on strength compared to average, that's bad. That's real bad for an axe guy. His skill is about average. His speed is 2 points below average. That's another big hit. So 4 points low strength, 2 points low speed. That's a real... Well, to be fair, he has 2 more level ups, and I've got him at level 30. So maybe he can come back and get 2 good level ups with strength and speed, and maybe then I'll take it all back. Looks like he's about on par for defense if he gets 1 more defense point over the next couple levels. Okay, so he looks like he's a little bit weak. There's no way he's going to hit his strength cap, but he needs 2 good level ups to hit his averages, to even be close to his averages. And you definitely can't count on that. Alright, Shannon is next. He also, like Oifi, had less total level ups, so less variability. Looks like average HP, 2 points low on strength. That's unfortunate, because the only way these guys are good with their like foot units that aren't on a horse, they really need to be solid combat units, and 2 points of strength missing is kind of a big deal. Especially when you got stuff like Astra to get extra attacks, and they all do 2 less damage. Anyway, skill average, speed a little bit above average, luck luck is about average, defense is average. Well, surprise, surprise, he's very average. Again, he's got 2 more level ups, so if he can get 1 or 2 points of strength, he could get a bit, like, if he can get closer to 30 speed, I would say he's a little bit blessed, actually. Like, if he can get, yeah, again, just like Johann, if he gets 2 level ups with strength speed, suddenly he'll have 23 strength, which is average, and 30 speed, which is a nice blessing. So, could be cool, but at least at the moment, he looks like he's a little bit below average for him. Let's do Patty quick. Less to talk about for Patty because she's less of a combat unit, so we'll just zip right through. But she's got lots of extra HP. I think she had a conversation for that. So 5 HP potentially from conversations or some other source. Maxed out HP, a little bit of magic, doesn't matter. Maxed out skill, a little bit extra speed, a few points of extra luck, 1 extra point of defense, and 1 extra point of resistance. So that's pretty standard. Nothing outrageous on Patty, but she could combat pretty well, but that's not her focus. And also, like, keeping in mind, like, even though her stats are pretty good, she doesn't really have, like, special combat skills like Adept or Astra. Luna's decent. In certain situations, it's really good. But I feel like usually Larcy and Ulster and Shannon will be better if we're going to do, you know, ground sword combat, which is all she's got. She can't do anything besides foot sword. Alright, let's do Leaf. So Leaf, as a Master Knight, has ridiculous stats. Looks like he's got some extra HP, probably from conversations. He's maxed out his strength. I think they have such a huge promotion bonus for Master Knight that this is really not a huge surprise that everything's capped. His magic's at 1 point below, but he's capped his strength, skill, and speed like he usually does. His luck's a little bit high, and his defense is a little bit low. Like, he's got +3 luck and -3 defense. If he had 3 more defense, that would make him a little bit better. But that's enough of a swing that I wouldn't really notice it. So, I think the idea is Leaf will almost always cap like 3 or 4 of his stats. He is supposed to cap defense, but let's see. So without promotion gains, he'd have 23.5 on average. Promotion gains should have added 5, so it's 28.5. Yeah, he actually has like above 50% odds of capping his defense. Like theoretically, he should get to 28.5 defense if it was, if you didn't have level caps. So that extra 1.5 sort of points means that it's more likely that he should have capped it than not. So he's actually, in that sense, he's 4.5 defense points below what his average would be. So yeah, a little bit defense cursed. He could have been a tankier unit, but, you know. Again, I'm not saying any of these units are bad. I'm just saying compared to what you might get on average, this is kind of what's neat about them. All right, Nana. So she always had weird growths because she was a paladin. She turned into a paladin from a troubadour, but her magic growth rate was just terrible. So you can see here, she's got exactly average HP, strength capped like average, basically average magic, average skill. She's quite speed cursed, like 4 points below average on speed. Like, I was complaining about her speed, because 16 is... If there's one reason for me not to throw Nana into combat, it's actually just her speed. You know, she wants to get those pursuit hits. Swords are quite light, but 13 attack speed is not particularly impressive. And she should be closer to 20, so that's too bad. A little bit of extra luck. She's actually got a few extra points of defense. That's kind of nice. But the speed, like, speed is almost... It's very often the most important stat in the game, so... if you're minus 4 points of speed, that's a pretty big swing in most games. Alright, Finn has also been around for a very long time, so he's had the full... Well, he's not quite level 30, but he's had the full range of level 1 and up, if we count all of his history with us. He hasn't been that amazing lately, and I think that's because he doesn't get Holy Blood bonuses, basically. But if you look at his stats, you know, a couple points low on HP. His strength is actually quite blessed. His maximum strength is 27, which he could hit if he's lucky. Although, I kind of have a feeling early in the game, Quan trained him and gave him kind of a free level up with a little bit of strength, skill, defense or something way, way long time ago, which won't be in my stats, my averages. But, potentially, he's a little bit above average in strength. His skill is a little low. His speed's a tiny bit low, but basically average. Luck's a tiny bit low. Defense is a tiny bit higher. He's actually, other than his slightly above average strength, he's very average across the board. Unless you remember any sort of extra training he got, extra bonus conversations, which probably make him slightly below average. It probably takes him from a little bit good to a little bit poor if he actually has like +2 or 3 in a few stats. Okay, Ares, we're making pretty good progress. I wanted to get this episode, you know, don't want this to be super, super long, but about an hour should be fine. Alright, Ares still has 2 level ups to go, so don't worry too much. Let's see, so he's got a little bit extra HP, 1 extra point, plus 2 levels, so you never know. His strength is capped, which is pretty standard for him from what I can see. Magic's a little low, whatever. His skill is about average. Speed looks to take a big hit, yeah. Him and, who's the other one? Like, Nana. There's definitely been a couple characters that I thought their speed has been kind of unusually bad in the late game here. I don't know how many bad level ups we've had in a row, but I think, like, some of these characters went from level 20 to 28 without really getting much speed, and that's starting to show some of these people that had bad luck. So yeah, Ares at level 30 anyway should have about 23 speed on average. His speed cap is 24, so, you know, he actually has, whatever the odds are, he has some chance of actually maxing out his speed. Less than 50%, say maybe 25-30% chance kind of thing. You have to do some statistics to get the exact value, but anyway, the fact that he's not even at 20 yet is pretty sad. His luck is potentially way lower than average, like 5 points below. His defense might be 1 or 2 points below, and his resistance. So he's a pretty bad Ares. Like, no stats are above average. Speed, luck, defense are all a little bit low. Well, speed and luck are a lot low. Defense is a little low. So unless I messed up inputting his stats, which I don't think I did, kind of bad level ups for him. Too bad. All right, leans. Okay, so Lean's only 18, so she's got such a big switch from level, like, other people I just put in their level 30 stats. I can show you over here. I put in Lean's level 20 stats, so we'll just put her to 18. I could do this for everybody, but I just don't think it matters that much. Oh, scrolled too far. Classic. Alright, that looks good. So, you know, Lean, I mean, HP's couple points low, strength is at, like, she has so low growths that most of the stuff won't change. Like, she's got more magic, woo, I didn't realize she had 2 skill. After all this time, she had 2 skill. Alright, but normally she should have 5 skill. She should normally have about 13 speed at her level, about 20 luck, has about 5 defense and 17 resistance, so not like it makes any difference at all, but I guess it's a pretty standard Lean. If you want to see, I'll just throw them in here. If you want to see her level 30 stats, assuming you can get her to 30, which would take a lot of time, but that's about what she could hit at level 30 if we really stick around. She can naturally cap her magic and resistance at 15 and 18. So all she really gets is luck, a bit of speed, and some resistance. It's not a lot, so don't get your hopes up. She's never really going to be a combat unit, even though she's got C-rank swords. It's better than a lot of dancers that can't even fight, but... Okay, Tinny next. Possibly my favorite mage of this generation. Possibly of this entire game, actually. So, okay, she should be on screen for you guys. Average strength... Or sorry, average HP, a little bit low strength. Not like it matters. That's right, dump that strength stat, gate girl. Maxed out magic... Skill, speed. She's 1 point higher in luck, average defense, and a little bit of extra resistance. Looks good to me. I mean, I don't think there's really a lot of argument here. Her average stats, for capped stats, mean you should probably cap them on average, and she did, so cool. Alright, Favel. Now we're getting into the characters that probably are not level 30 again. Oh no, he made it to 30, that's fine, alright. So the only character that on average can hit his HP cap, everybody else is everyone else would need a lot of good luck to get to 80 HP. He typically gets to 80. He also has maxed out his strength, which is quite impressive for an archer. That really does not happen very often. Favel might be the strongest archer I've seen in a Fire Emblem game, other than like Three Houses or something where anyone can be an archer. Anyway, magic doesn't matter. He's maxed out his skill. His speed's pretty bad, though. So the only stat so far that's below average, or above average, is his speed, which is 4 points lower than typical. That's too bad. Again, 4 points of speed would make a nice big difference. These are heavy bows. If you had the killer bow, it's pretty light, but these guys are pretty heavy. And he should have had 26.4 speed. Which means he actually, 27 speed would be his cap. He should have had a reasonably good chance at getting to his speed cap, or at least very close. And he did not, so... Again, that's like 3 or 4 characters that are kind of speed cursed. That's too bad. Given how important it is for accuracy and dodge. I think it's dodge and well, you know what it is. You know how it goes. Speed's just good. Everybody's got pursuit, so those double attacks are really nice. What are we down to? Seti. Okay, we're almost through. Where's my Seti? Also known as Sed. So he joins pre-promoted at a fairly high level, so I wouldn't expect as much variation here. HP's average, strength's a little bit high, magic's a little bit low, but not enough to matter much. Sure, he would have been better with 26 or 27 magic, but it's close enough. Skills is capped, speed is capped, luck is a fair bit above average. Good for him. Defense is a little bit low, resistance is right on par. So the only thing unusual for my Seti is, you know, 1 or 2 points of magic below and a few extra points of luck. Unfortunately, I would never trade like a magic or speed stat for a luck stat, so it's kind of the wrong direction. I'd rather have low luck and very high, you know, strength, magic, speed. Anyway, Hannibal, this almost doesn't even matter. I should probably put in his level though, because he's not going to be anywhere near his level 30 stats, so let's put in 23 for him especially. In retrospect, I should have had everyone's correct level input into my spreadsheet, but whatever, it's fine. There's only a few people that were level 28, so you guys can forgive me. So there you go. There's Hannibal. I mean, we've barely even used him. He's already a little bit below average strength, not enough to matter. He got a lucky magic point, which he shouldn't have got, I guess. And yeah, he's got really bad growths. Like, if you've seen his unit card, his skill, speed, luck growths are all just terrible. So you really can't expect a whole lot. I think he was he might be the worst character in Gen 2. I don't think you can quite see them on screen right now. I'll just slide them over here. But Hannibal's growths, like, all skill, speed, luck are 10%. His magic doesn't matter, but, you know, 50% strength is okay. His HP growth is pretty bad compared to most people. And his defense growth is not that impressive for a general. Like, 0.3 is less than Favel, the archer. So, yeah, I wouldn't expect a whole lot out of Hannibal in this game. Alright, so, we got, like, 2 left. Alright, so Corpora is next. Or Carper. There he is. Oh, I should put his number in too, because he's not level 30. He's a fair way below. So we'll put his level 23 stats in. I had 20, so the update goes up, but that's because we're going from level 20 to 23 on my spreadsheet. So at the moment, you know, he did start at like level 1, I think. So he's had a lot of level ups, and he's got a few more to go. If we can get him all the way to 30 or whatever. But it looks like, so far, he's got a little bit extra HP. Strength doesn't really matter. Exactly average magic. Skills, 1 point low. Not enough to matter. His speed is a little bit blessed. He's got the 3 extra points of speed. He stole that from somebody else who needed it, because it doesn't really matter for him. His luck's 1 point high. His defense is maybe 2 points low. And his resistance is already capped. Just for interest sake, I'll show you what his average level 30 stats what his level 30 stats could be. It looks like he's got a pretty good chance of maxing out his magic, and he's already maxed out his resistance, so not great growths overall, but he's a healer, right? So he's not really a combat unit. Getting good resistance on a healer is nice, because it means he probably can't get put to sleep or silenced. So if you want to put the restore staff on him or the Valkyria or whatever, it's a nice way to keep your healer from getting debilitated. And finally, Altina. I added an N for fun, but Altina rather than Altena. So she's got a lot of extra HP. I think that was a conversation with Leaf, but even still, that's like plus 6 or 7 points. So that's, oh, I should highlight it so you can see again. But it's the bottom line. So anyway, her HP looks really good. Her strength is maxed, like average. Skill's a little bit low, maybe 3 points low on skill. So her skill cap is 24. Her average level 30 skill is 23.9. So I'd have to say that on average, she should max out her skill. She just didn't. So 3 points of skill means perhaps her accuracy with the Gaebulg here on the final chapter will be a little bit weaker, because it's only a 70 hit weapon. But I can't remember if it gives... This might be one of the weapons that actually gives skill when you equip it, which would kind of fix that problem anyway. Anyway, so skill's a little bit low. Speed is capped, like average. Luck's a little bit high. That makes up a little bit for less skill, I guess, but whatever. Her defense is really solid. She can actually get... She's capped her defense. 29 is the maximum defense for a Dragon Master. Her average defense is 27, so that's nice. A little bit extra defense for our Flying Fortress. And the resistance pretty much all came from Corpora. I think he gave her 5. So technically, she's below average resistance, because she didn't get any natural growth. But it's like a really low % odds of her actually getting anything, so... Anyway, that's pretty much it. If I remember, I'll put a link to my spreadsheet. I'll put a public link so you guys can look at it and maybe play around with the level numbers if you want to see some averages for my characters. If you were playing along, you would need to make a copy and input different growth rates and join rates for your units. But so it's not terribly useful to share with people, but yeah, I'll leave a link if you're curious. I don't know, I think it's pretty cool. I guess the main takeaway that I've got here is most of my characters, most of my units have maxed out the important stats, And some of my characters that I was wondering if they were a little bit unlucky, like specifically, what was it, Ares? You know, he's got a little bit low speed. Nana's got a little bit low speed. Somebody else looked a little bit cursed. I forget which one it was. It doesn't matter too much, but that's kind of what I enjoyed checking out. I think it was Dermot. Like, a lot of my, like, mainline fighters, Dermot, Nana, Ares, all kind of paladins sort of classes. Although technically Dermot is a forest knight, but they're all a little bit slower than usual. And no, like, because I think most characters in this game, in Gen 2 anyway, like, they seem to have really high growth rates in like 1 or 2 stats, the way the Holy Blood works. Like the major Holy Blood adds like 40 or 50% to your HP growth, and then I think it's 1 or 2 other stats get a big boost. It's not really spread out. So Balder Blood gives you like one specific attribute really strong, and then Nega Blood gives you a different attribute. And they always give HP and something else, if I remember correctly. And I think what that means is that a lot of characters get sort of overkill growth, if that's a term that makes sense, where they could get to 30 or 40 for some of their stats because they've got such a high growth rate. If you've got like a 90% strength growth, 30 levels up is 30 points. So if you start with 10 strength and you've got almost 100% strength growth, you know, you can't get 10 plus 29 you can't get to 39 strength plus a promotion gain. So you hit the cap fairly early, and then there's not a lot more to do. So unfortunately, we're in a situation at the end of the game here where very few characters have above average stats, because if they have a chance to get above average, it's on a stat that just has a maximum, and then they're stuck. So we see, I think more often than not, we see the stats that have been cursed and had bad luck, and the stats that had good luck just got capped out, so we didn't get to see the benefits out of it, other than, you know, you got them a little bit earlier. So I think that's kind of my takeaway. That's just the way Fire Emblem 4 works. And I'm not trying to compare units to say, like, one unit is better than the other necessarily, or certain parents are better than others. But anyway, hopefully you enjoyed a little bit of a discussion about some of our characters. What I'm going to take away from this is the next time we come back, I will have decided where to move the rings. I haven't figured that out yet. I know last episode I said I'd do it, but I wanted to look at the stats first. So now we've had our stat review, and I'll do Deirdre's real quick once she joins. And yeah, we've got a big chapter to do. Now you can hear the music again. But yeah, that's it. So anyway, like I said, hope you've enjoyed. A little bit of a bonus episode. Maybe I'll do a two episode in one day kind of thing, if I remember. I almost wish you guys could remind me. Anyway, well, see you guys next time. We'll get to work killing some dark mages right away next episode. Have a great day. Hello, folks. Short little update. This is just being tacked on at the end of the video here. When I was reviewing the footage and just making sure everything looked half decent for you guys, I did notice a fairly large mistake, and it's actually on my slides, but I used my slides to create my fancy spreadsheet. So I'll just highlight this real quick. Lana, I had accidentally copied her original stats off of Selif's. So if you've noticed her growths, not her base stats, but her growth rates, if you've been watching along for the entire Let's Play, whenever Lana pops up here on the left, which I can't mouse over for you guys, but you know what I mean. The bottom left growth rates for her are identical to Selif. Those are Selif's growth rates, not hers. So, oops. I think it was one of the first cards I made for Gen 2, and I just forgot to input the numbers. So anyway, my spreadsheet is up to date, and you can see just by comparing these two lines, she, you know, less HP growth, less strength growth, slightly more magic growth, although not that different. Considerably less skill growth, so my comparison on her end game stats there is kind of incorrect. So what I'll do is just one more time here at the end, I will compare Lana with actually the right stats. And I can say at this point that I think pretty much for sure I've gone through everybody now. I think she was the only mistake I had this bad. So let's just pop her back up one more time here. Good old Lana. So you can see, as far as I can tell, actually, she doesn't have any variability on her HP growth. She will always get exactly 1 HP growth per level up. It's 100%. So, she's got 3 more than her average of 58, which I assume must have just been a conversation. So there's really no variability in her HP. Her strength is actually a little bit higher than average, 15 compared to 12. So unless she got some bonuses from other people, you know, that's fine. Her magic's 3 points higher than her average. Her skill is still a little bit lower than her average, but I think I over-exaggerated last time how poor it was. So the fact that she's got, you know, an extra few points of magic and strength and a little bit weaker skill, that's probably within the bounds of, you know, standard variation. And then, yeah, speed and luck capped like average, defense is a little bit higher, and resistance is a little bit higher. So I think with that change, going from Selif's sort of extra high growth rates to Lana's, it definitely paints her in a better light. So I'm kind of glad I caught this before I uploaded the video. Anyway, nothing too crazy to talk about. I think that was the only one I messed up. And it doesn't make the biggest difference in the world anyway. But it's nice to know that she's actually turned out pretty well. Her magic stat is high. Her strength, not like it helps her in any fashion, because she can't equip any physical weapons. So really, strength is completely useless, but her magic is good. Her skill's a little bit low. 4 points low is still substantially cursed, I would say. But all in all, she's done fine. Anyway, thanks for watching again. Sorry for a couple little minor mistakes. It's hard, man. Like, there's a lot of numbers on that spreadsheet. It's easy to just blank out, and I don't have any fact checkers reviewing all my cards. It's just a small channel, guys. All right, for real though, thanks for watching. Hope you've enjoyed the stat comparisons, and feel free to have a look at it on the Google Doc. And if you notice any crazy mistakes, you know, let me know, and I'll try to patch them in at some point at the end of the game. Anyway, see you guys later. Have a great day.